Good morning, YouTube. This is the Olympus OM-1. I want to do some modification to this camera. This camera, even the lens need to do some cleaning. This is a 1.4 lens. And I have another lens, 51.8. This is the 51.4. This is a very fast lens during its time. So put the lens aside. The metering is not working, and the first thing we need to check is the, what they call it, battery connection. So most of the time the battery is having an issue. Could be the battery connector, because this camera is fully mechanical. It will work even without any electronics or without any batteries. The batteries is only for the light metering. So looks like it's best for me to put back the lens just to have some kind of a balance. This OM-1 roughly around 1975. This is the OM-1 MD, the motor drive, with motor drive connection here and the motor drive terminal. Right, let's open it up. Hopefully my screwdriver can be used, because a lot of these Japanese cameras use this using a GIS screwdriver. Okay, this one doesn't work. The bigger one doesn't work. But that is a Phillips 0. So I've ordered a GIS screwdriver, but still a long time to come. So then I have a set of this screwdriver bit. This Phillips 00, Phillips 00, and cannot force it too much because it will damage. But if it can open, good. So yes, it can be open, and works, no problem. Just want to make sure I have the screws put in the proper location. Open up bottom cover. There's only 4 screws in both. I think all 4 are the same. Let's see, is it all 4 the same? Yes, all 4 screws are the same, so it's no problem. I can put them in the same container. I will speed up this video. Okay, let's open up. Okay, that's the cover. That's the motor drive connection with this access cover. If we remove this, it have a notch to be aligned. This modification is necessary because previously this camera is using a very old battery, this one, the MR9 battery, it is a 1.35 volts battery. It doesn't, you cannot buy this battery anymore because they have banned this battery due to its mercury content. I have bought alternative 625 alpha cell. This is lithium. Unfortunately, when it comes to lithium, the voltage is different, higher, 1.5 volts. So in order to make the lithium work, we have to do some modification on the electrical part. Not much of electrical part, actually the battery, we need to do some modification so that this battery is broken. We have to put diode to have a voltage drop. So let's open up the, okay, this video will be quite long. I'm not sure whether it will be successful or not, but at least I try, because the soldering is very difficult. Okay, that's the screw. This particular screw at the cathode terminal, negative terminal, it have a insulation. See the insulation part here, this insulation, don't ever lose it, the insulation, because if you lose the insulation, the screw, since it's made of metal, the cathode will be shorting to the camera body. Camera body is positive, the wire is negative, is not the negative ground, this is a positive ground camera. So don't ever lose that insulation, then it will not work. So let's see, that's it. Right. Okay. This is the camera, the battery tank. So I need to solder a diode right about here, then hopefully the diode can be installed inside this piece. It's quite a difficult process because the wire is very what do you call it, very small. It's very difficult kind of wire. So hopefully I have something that I can trim this wire or strip it. This is not a good thing to use, but I do not have a smaller one. So what I will do, let's get the diode. This is the diode that we need. 1N43 alpha, I think. Okay, it's a very small diode. That's why they recommend this signal diode, so that it can fit inside here. The diode have a band. If you look at the diode, the black band is the cathode, so it should go towards the battery tap like this. So we need to solder it something like this. Very close to the terminal. Then we will join the wires with this. So something like that. Very close and very difficult kind of soldering actually. So if we can just do some kind of a magic trick by pinching the connector we do not want the terminal, any of this terminal to be touching or so like this. Quite difficult. This is where you need a third hand, something like that. But I'm just doing it with old school way, so that I can pinch this. Then I can solder it. Without damaging the diode, of course. Okay, it's pinch. So now I can solder it. It's quite a laborious process actually. Okay, later on I will trim this. Okay, now this is how it is. Unfortunately, I do not have a third hand. So now to hold this is something quite difficult. Let's see how we can do it. By the way, for soldering of this diode, we actually require flux, resin flux, otherwise it's very difficult to get it to stick. Okay, I crimp it here. That's how it looks like. Now, this is my makeshift item that I want to use for soldering, but it's metal, it's not easy. Sometimes I use to hold it with this. Okay, it's quite difficult. Then I'm going to put resin and a depth of solder. So this is where I need to do some trick here. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video for a while. I'm going to set up the soldering station. The soldering station has been warmed up. Okay. This is all the items that have been removed so far. We can actually do some cheating. Use the camera body and hopefully the screw can hold this piece. Let's see whether that thing will work or not. Wow, the solder is hot. Okay, let's see whether this thing can do it. Okay, now what we're going to do is use the camera body and this screw to anchor this piece. Right, at least I have some way for me to free my hand, and then I can solder this wire. Okay, we may just be careful when doing this. We do not want the solder to go into the camera, so we have to use all sorts of things to raise up. By the way, I'm using this solder flux and normal soldering solder. So solder flux, we have the Burnley solder flux. We need this, otherwise no way it will work. So the solder flux, we just put it a bit here. This is a resin based solder flux. Now that's all we need. And the soldering iron should be hot enough. This is the most difficult part because solder needs skill, and the smaller the piece is, the more difficult it's going to be. Okay, looks like it's all good. Yes, all good. We cannot put the solder for too long, otherwise it will damage. Now I have to find a way to cut that piece. Right, everything now should works. Right, then I can remove the screw and voila. Right, thanks a lot. At least I have some way to hold and just put back the screw in its place. Okay, that's how you do soldering for this piece. So I have to trim down and remove the excess. I need to find a very small cutter. This is just not a good tool actually, this one, because it's very old. So I'm trying to make more videos on camera repair, lens repair. So I've ordered up a few items. Previously I was doing watch repair, since camera and watch miniature item, the tool is quite common. Okay, I need to locate a smaller cutter. This is also very old, it's not used. Okay, let's just tidy up a bit. What do I need to trim this so there will not be any shorting. We can use RTV later on to prevent shortings. But if you do it properly, it should be okay. It's not that good, but it nicked it just enough. So put it aside, but it already been soldered, so it's okay. It would not be touching anything. Just that we need to make sure it's secure. So later on, when we put it back in the battery holder, it will be something like this, with the diode there. And we have to be careful so that the screw head is not touching any part of the wire. So I will need to do wiring check later on. So once this is done, so the other part is to make sure this wire will be connected to this piece. Let's see how we can do it. Okay. Sometimes some people put thermo sleeve for safety reason. So the older camera is using nylon screws. So bottom piece is not matching properly. I have to open up the camera body. Okay, so that this piece aligned. I do not want to open up this part because I do not want to damage curtains, the camera shutter curtains. Okay. Right. So let's align this. See how it can be aligned properly without touching anything. If there is electrical continuity between this piece, we can put some kind of a RTV. It's best to use RTV so that hold on, this piece is here. It's not properly seated. Okay, now it's seated properly. It's quite a tedious job. Okay, now it's seated. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put the front screw, this screw first, and the smaller screw to hold the battery holder. Okay, all these tiny screws using JIS screws. They are not Phillips, they are JIS. That's why when you use a Phillips screwdriver, it doesn't work actually. I've ordered 2 pieces of JIS screwdriver, and not many places selling them. Sometimes they label it as Phillips because people don't really understand that much when it comes to tools. So this is where the problem going to be. Trying to put the screw in first before I solder. Once I do that, again, this screw here have an insulator. Without that, the system will not work. If somehow the screw is missing or damaged, it's better not to use screw and just put some kind of a RTV to hold the terminal. But you must make sure it's not touching any part of the camera body. Okay, it's in. This is the bad part. I probably have to put the RTV. Okay, it's in. Okay, not too tight because we haven't finished doing the job. Looks like there is space around. Okay, it's not touching the camera body. Later on, we can put some kind of a tape to put it. The thing is here, because we have to somehow pull it apart. The diode body is okay, it's made out of glass, so the diode will not be shorting. But I'm worried about the okay. So before I proceed, what I need to do is to do a continuity check. If there is no continuity, then it's good, so that I can put in some insulation tape in between this terminal here to the body, so that it's insulated. So there is the part, or we can gently bend, but be careful, it cannot touch the screw head also. Let's put this aside. And be careful, the solder is still hot. The soldering iron is still hot because I still need to do the wire soldering. I have analog meter, this meter that I can use. Hopefully the battery is available. If not, I will use the digital meter. Put it to the buzzer is good enough. So test it. We should not have a buzzing sound from the camera body to this. No buzzing sound here. Sound. Should not have sound from this. But from this to here, you should have sound. Okay, so there is continuity from this wire through the diode to this terminal, the battery tab. But there is no continuity from, let me check out this. There is no, there's a lot of things to make it higher. Should not have any continuity from, let's see whether you can see it. Yes, should not have any continuity from the body to this wire. But from this wire to here must have continuity. That means the insulation on the screw works. If that doesn't work, then we have a problem. So we have to check a few places. Let's tap on the screw head. You see? This screw head, we have continuity. But this wire, we do not have continuity. So the best thing to do is, I'm going to try to put in insulation tape around this area once I'm done. Now the difficult part now is to solder this wire to the diode. So the wire length is a bit too short, so we can somehow wiggle away inside here. After we finish, we still need to do a continuity check again. So I'm going to solder somewhere here. Then I need to put it in an area that do not have any potential of shorting. That's the difficult part. So, or I can also route it somewhere here, because this is this area is quite free from any items. So let's see. Let's try. I do not want to open up anything more than is necessary, but somehow the space is very limited. So I may need to remove the to have a proper secure positioning. I may need to dismount again the screws for the battery holder. So something like this. I'm going to solder this. Then, okay, we use this thermofit. Unfortunately, this is the only size I can find. A 3mm thermofit. We need a smaller thermofit, something like 1.5mm. So hopefully this will work without problem to make sure everything works fine. So this is another part which is I don't really like, because this is also something which is quite difficult to do. We do not want to mess around with the mechanism inside. So sometimes what we need to do, I got to probably safer for me to route the wire to this area here, because this is quite a close space. Although these are more towards the mechanism for the motor drive. Okay, let's see whether we can wiggle our way. Try not to open up much, because the more you disturb, the more you're going to be you will have more problems later on. Okay, let's open up this one and loosen up this one. Okay, now this screw we need to remove again. So this is where the tedious part of doing this job. Let's put it there. Okay. Okay. Okay, it's better to remove the screws. Okay, move it. Okay, right, that's it. What I'm trying to do is trying to route this wire diode to the side of this. Okay, then do a turn and have our soldering over here. That piece, solder it to the wire, like so, over here, something like that. Okay, and hopefully this diode is secure enough to the side. It's not touching anything, right? So I already preform it like this. Now I can remove it and solder this wire to here. Okay, then what I would do, I put a thermo sleeve here so that both will be isolated. Okay, that's a trick. Okay, now we need to find a place to hold this right here. Right, same technique. We use the screws to hold. Hopefully my video is on. Yes. Okay, just checking. Okay, what we do here now, same technique. Put a screw in here, secure it to the camera base. Position it as best as possible towards now there. Be careful when you're soldering, because we do not want the solder to drop underneath. So it's best to put a piece of paper underneath that. Put a piece of paper to make sure there's no solder going to drop underneath this. Okay, that should be good. Good. If you have a cardboard, it's okay. So this already been preformed, so it's okay. Just this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to solder this to this. Since this area is a bit free from many things, so that is what we're going to do. Like that. Miniature soldering is always difficult. There, that's what we're going to do. Right. Alright. To strip the wire without damaging it is difficult part. Sometimes the wire is so thin, solder will melt it away. And wire, if we need wires, actually what we can do, we can use headphone wires or any of those USB wires. To strip this wire is the most difficult part. Okay, I strip a bit, hopefully it works. Okay, now that's the tough part. We need this back. Okay, we need to use the piece and take some of this piece, put it on here. If you do not have this paste or resin, this is very difficult. It will not stick most of the time. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully this works. Now, I'm going to do it one at a time. I'm going to put solder to the wire first, to the diode wire first. So thin this. Okay. Once you thin it, it's also best to thin the wire. Also, it's this difficult, but the wire is damn small. It's very difficult. The wire has been stripped by the heat. Got to put more paste on the wire. Hopefully it works. Because there's no enough, what they call it, not enough meat to have a clean shot of the soldering. Okay, never mind. Let's give it a bit more. Yeah. Now this is the difficult process. So we're going to, this is why we need that hand. Yeah. This is the most difficult part of this process. Okay. Right. We need a very steady hand and a prayer. Okay, because the wire is very, very thin. Very difficult job. It doesn't stick properly, so I'm going to put more tin and put more okay, you can put a lot, no problem, because it just evaporated. The thing is, it's not hot enough to give it okay, and tap it into the resin. Okay, hopefully it works. Okay, just give it more resin because we need it. Can have a lot, no problem. This is where we need to protect this area. Okay, and we need some resin on the wire too. Okay, right. Hopefully this time around it works. A shaky hand will cause it to disengage. That is the big problem when we do this kind of soldering. Now we stick. Whew, that's difficult, but that's the best I can do because it is very, what do you call it, very fragile. Hopefully everything will stick together. Let me switch off the solder because it's going to be hot. And as you know, any hot thing is waiting for our fingers. Okay, right. It's a bit of a mess when it comes to this cut and chop. Right, now we remove the resin, clean it up with alcohol. So I'm going to clean it up with a cotton swab and alcohol later on, but the resin is non-conductive anyway, no problem. Okay, that's done. Okay, now this is what we need to do. Put it something like this. Okay, before that we just remove this, dismount this. This is done. Okay, put the screw somewhere safe. Right, meter we'll use later on again to double check. So this is not a good one. I can take another one because it's best to somehow, as we goes by, as we put this in, we'll see how much excess do we need. So tiny, everything is so tiny. Okay, we need to wrap it. position like that. Okay, now it's in. We may need to put some kind of adhesive for it to be secured. Okay. Wire is somehow not really that happy with it, but that's it. The wire is a bit too long. I did not cut it to be short because I'm afraid I may somehow have insufficient wire. But let's see. Wire is still holding. Okay. This is when I'm going to put the first screw, the small one. Just like doing wash repair, the screw have a tendency to shoot across. Okay, put it loosely because here another area where we need to look at. Okay, now the second screw. The second screw is more difficult because there's a bit of a tension here. Okay, that's it. That's where the screw need to goes in. Again, make sure we have all the items necessary. Okay, screw is there. Just slightly close it. I don't know whether we can still get this space for this camera. Okay, because if there's insulation missing, and we're going to have a problem. Okay. Not too tight because this is not a high machinery item. Okay, so something like that. We need to tidy it up. Hopefully it doesn't touch anything. I'm worried about this area. Okay, again we can do a continuity check. It's a buzzer before we tidy up everything. Should not have continuity. Buzzer. Run out of batteries. Okay. Okay, let's better use another meter. So I have the digital meter, which I do not want to use actually. So we have a digital meter, and we also have a buzzer position. And it still works. I just use the analog meter first. It's much easier. Alright. Now we use the digital meter. We have common. Here's the common point. It's common. And this is input, positive. Okay, let's secure this and put it aside. I have a tendency to create mess. I got two diodes. Let's put it aside. Even this solder, put it aside. I don't need it already. Hopefully, let's see, where's the diode? Okay, it's the diode position. Okay. How come it doesn't have sound? Should have sound function. Ohms. Okay. Right. Body to body. Okay. We should have positive ground, body to body. So it's shorting. It's shorting. So we'll find out where this is shorted. It should be here, this area. Okay, shorted over here. Okay, let's see where this is shorted. Okay, no more shorting. So we have to make sure it's not touching at the bottom there. But at the same time, we should have continuity. Oh, B, yeah. No continuity, that's not good. Positive should be here. There's no continuity through the diode. Something's not right. Okay, let's do a diode check. Ohms. Diode check. Okay, the diode works. 0.3. Okay, if you reverse it, it should not work. To check a diode, you have to do both direction. So this is open. The positive should be, look at the meter. A diode check. Diode check should be positive here and negative here. It goes through the diode. You should have a reading. This is a diode check. Okay, you have a reading. Reverse the leads. Positive here, negative here, you should not have a reading. So that's a diode check. So diode is work. This meter, it doesn't give buzzer sound on a diode. It only give buzzer sound for continuity check. So let's change function to buzzer. Okay, buzzer again. So the body is shorting. This one should be positive. I'm looking for positive. P behind the arrow, that's how it is. P behind the arrow should be positive. So should have current flowing. Okay. Quite difficult. We have a. It's okay. So anyway, initially it was shorting. Now it's not shorting. Diode check. Diode check. Positive to negative. Okay. Reverse the leads. Open. Right. There is no shorting between the wires. And I also want to make sure there is no shorting between this temp to here. Put it to buzzer test. Okay. There's no shorting. No shorting. Just to test. It's shorting here. No shorting. No shorting. Okay. With this digital meter, is more elaborate. Okay, everything works. I'm going to put better just later. Try to get a better. Okay. Better one, so we have to. So okay, if we can root it inside something like that, change this mechanism. Okay. It's not really that good looking, but it will do. Okay, right. So I got to put it something like that. And I got to shrink it. It will hold everything. Right. Now, how to shrink it? Normally we use soldering iron, such a tight place. I'm going to use heat gun, but it's going to be very very difficult. Because if it's shorting, it's going to have problem with the remove it again. So this kind of job is a tedious process. Okay, the insulation has been disengaged. Okay. I need to slide it a bit. It's not moving. will just have a look what we are dealing with underneath that area here. Okay, so there's nothing here. So if there's nothing there, it's okay. I do not want to see there is some moving parts. So there's no moving parts, then it's okay. Let's shrink the thermosleeve. Okay. So we normally use soldering iron to shrink it. Okay. To use heat gun is a bit overkill in this area. Soldering iron is not a good idea. I'm going to use heat gun. But heat gun is a bit more difficult to control. Because the heat gun that I have is a huge heat gun. Okay, this heat gun, which is huge, not suitable, but we try to do it. Need to protect certain areas. Shield it from the heat. You have to really use it. It's not in the frame, sorry about this, but it's a bit difficult. Let's get the everything in the frame. Alright, so I have to protect this a bit. Yeah. You really need a small heat gun. Very small, using like a pencil size. Okay. Not too long with the heat gun. Right. Otherwise, there's a lot of damage can be done. Alright, let's see. We need to put this back in. Go through. Okay. Now we're going to put the screws in. Again, the front screw first. Okay, loosely put it. Now the rear. Okay. And the rear screws. The take-up spool for the film sometimes doesn't align. That's where the difficulties of sitting in this one. It doesn't align yet. Okay, now in. Okay, once it's in, make sure we have everything there. Hopefully it's not shorting, because now I have difficulties in testing the diode. Okay, let's put it in. Try not to lose the collar. It's a bit difficult to put in here. It's excess hole. Okay. Okay, that's it. Okay. Position it properly. Everything is in position, then tighten up. Okay, this is how we do the modification on the most of the camera that use the MR9 battery. What we do is to put diode in series with the electrical circuit to drop down the voltage. The difficult part of doing this modification is the access wise, and because it's such a small area to work on, it will be difficult. The wire can be shorted, and there's a lot of things that can I want to do a double check so that at least this area is not shorted to ground. So if it's shorted to ground, we will know. Okay, you see. Okay, as long as it's not shorted to ground, ground in this case is positive ground. Okay, it's not shorted. Okay, this area is not shorted, meaning this area up to the cathode is not shorted. Let's see whether the anode part is shorted. Okay, it's not shorted also. Test. The anode is not shorted again. Okay. Alright, what I'm going to do is I just want to restore the cover, put a battery, and I'll check at the light meter whether it's working, and I will resecure and probably put some kind of adhesive to make sure it doesn't move. And because everything here is made of metal, there are so many things that can be touching. So I'm going to put some kind of plastic something to make sure it doesn't touch. Otherwise, the battery will be drained. Okay, these are the batteries. As I showed earlier, the original battery is this MR9 is the original batteries, and the alternative batteries is 6 to 5 alpha. So let's close up this camera. Okay, let's close up this camera. First get the door, close up the door. It's quite difficult to do it upside down. Normally we just use our finger to do it. Okay, it's in. The door is in. I will clean up this camera later on, and there's a few little work I need to clean up. Okay, and probably try to get a smaller heat gun and shrink it better. Let's put back the cover. Okay. That's the screws. Yeah, those are the screws. We have four screws. These are the covering for the battery and the motor drive. Okay, screws, they're not that small, but quite difficult to hold. Yes, I use tweezer. This tweezer from my watchmaking during about 20 years ago when I do watchmaking. Okay, just secure this. Secure this. I'm trying to do the filming, the video using GoPro or DJI, but turn out the video resolution is not good, and then I tried to use my Fujifilm X-T5, but since the camera is a bit big, it's very difficult to mount overhead. I didn't have a proper fixtures to mount it, and I don't think it's worth the trouble to mount the X-T5, although it will give a very good picture putting in a wide angle lens. And in the end I resort to using the iPhone, so this video is made using the iPhone. Right, all in. Now the moment of truth. Let's close up the motor drive. Motor drive, there's a notch here. There's a notch here and a notch here. Align the notch. Align the notch and rotate. Okay, align the notch and rotate. You should use a coin, but in this room I do not have a coin. Okay, rotate. So align the notch and rotate. The battery is a screw thread, so I'm not going to use the MR9 battery anymore because it's going to be undervolt. So instead I'm going to use the 625 Alpha. They did sell a replacement for M6 MR9 batteries, but they sell it at a premium. It's expensive. Okay, unfortunately I cannot show the viewfinder. Okay, it's off. Let's put it to on. And let's see. Damn light meter, is it working? It's dead as a duck. So it could be something else that's not working here. But anyway, that is how you do the modification. As I mentioned, it might not work because there could be something else that's not working. Right, let's open up the battery again and have a look if there is a shorting after closing. Do a continuity check, because after we close, sometimes it can have shorting again. Okay, let's see. It's not shorting anymore. The only thing is okay, that's how the modification is done. Unfortunately, it's not working as planned. It could be some other fault, or the wire that I joined to the diode is not really good. It can break off. So I'm going to end this video here. What I will do, I will just open it up again and recheck the connection, everything, because if anything else, it could be from the battery. It goes up into the light meter, and that is the area where I need to open up the top piece of this camera. That's probably on another video. Okay, bye bye for now. Thank you.